Hello, I'm Neil Quigley and welcome to the latest episode of my blogcast. Hope you're well and you've had a good couple of weeks. Mine have been quite relaxing on the whole. A couple of weeks ago, I spent a couple of nights at a spa with my girlfriend. For Christmas, I bought her a spa day for two at Champneys in Tring. Luckily for me, she decided to take me with her, so we spent a lovely day there in May. As we were leaving, they gave us the chance to buy a two-night stay there at a very reasonably discounted amount. So Linda decided to buy that there and then. We had the voucher for a couple of months. It needed to be used by the beginning of November. So therefore, we, towards the end of October, managed to find a couple of days we were free and get it booked in. We arrived on the Thursday afternoon and they give you, of course, at a spa, flip-flops, a bag and a big white dressing gown, which you will live in for the next couple of days that you are there. They then directed us to our room. I must admit, it was the first time I had stayed there. I'd been to the spa a few times over the years, but never been in the rooms. I was expecting something a bit more luxurious for the rooms, if I'm honest. They were perfectly nice. There was nothing wrong with them. The bathroom in our room was possibly a bit dated, very 70s in style. And the slight worry was when you stood in the bath, it creaked a bit because the shower was over the bath. That reminded me of when I was living in a flat in Yeovil in Somerset and my bath went through the ceiling of the flat below while I was in it. That was very odd. One minute I was sitting having a nice relaxing bath. Next moment the bath was at quite an angle and I could tell something was wrong. I'd got out of the bath and just dried myself when I got a knock on the door from the gentleman downstairs, informing me that I'd gate crashed his ceiling. Being in that bath in the hotel room at Champneys did remind me of that moment. We wanted to make the most of what was there and to get ourselves as relaxed as soon as possible. So I'd booked us a massage each for a few hours after we'd checked in. So we had time to put our stuff in our room and then get changed into our swimwear, our flip-flops, and of course the white robe and head down to the treatment area reception. It's always quite weird, I find, waiting for a massage or some sort of treatment in that area. You're sitting there patiently waiting to be called by your therapist. Lots of other people also sitting around in identical dressing gowns. It's a bit odd when you think about it. Linda and I both had massages booked at the same time. I got called first for mine, so I headed off to enjoy just a full body massage. Just wanted it to be as simple and relaxing as possible. I do like a nice massage, but they are one of those things I never have as often as I really should. I enjoy them greatly. I feel much better after them, but I probably only average about one or two a year. The massage lasted 50 minutes and it came, of course, with massage oils. I do find it so relaxing. I was almost falling asleep towards the end of it. I think it's the music they play. It's nice and warm, isn't it? The bed's heated. There's that relaxing music, the soothing voices, and of course, just the feeling of having the aches in your muscles rubbed away. So that was a fantastic start to our couple of days there. Once you've had your massage, you're not supposed to go in the water or go in the sauna or steam rooms or anything for about an hour. So we just sat quietly in the relaxation area and chilled out really for a bit whilst kind of clock watching until we could go and do something else because we were only there for a couple of days and two nights. So obviously we wanted to make the most of everything. First off, we decided to go in the outside jacuzzi they have there. It being October, it wasn't necessarily the warmest day of the year. We kept watch while we were sitting around waiting for the time after our massages to pass. And there were people using it, so we thought, well, it can't be that cold, surely. So we gave it a go, and disappointingly, it was not as warm as we were hoping. It was like a lukewarm bath with a few bubbles going through it. And because we didn't get into it until about 5 o'clock in the evening, it was starting to chill outside. We did have it confirmed at some point over the weekend by one of the regular members there that it was a lot colder than it normally is. We then went to find another jacuzzi. We got in it and there was no bubbles. It was a lot warmer, this one, so that was great. But we were trying to work out where the button was to turn on the bubbles. It was just me and Linda in the jacuzzi by ourselves. We were looking around on the walls, on the floor, trying to find this button everywhere. We couldn't find it. So if you haven't got bubbles in a jacuzzi, you're basically just sitting in a small warm bath that anybody could then come and sit in. So we decided to move on while keeping a bit of an eye on it to see if there was anything we had missed the entire time we were there, and we looked at it every time we walked past it. The bubbles were never on, which suggests it wasn't working properly, and also happily suggests me and Linda weren't just being idiots and not finding how you turn it on and off, because you couldn't, it just wasn't working. The quest to actually find a working jacuzzi which was hot took us to the relaxation area where they have lots of water beds and a complete ban on mobile phones, which I think should be the case throughout a spa. Possibly. I'm only saying that because I had mine locked in the room. The jacuzzi in the relaxation area worked fine. It had a button to trigger the bubbles. It was obvious and clear where that was. So we did manage to get in there. In fact, at one point, we had it all to ourselves for a bit, which was nice. It was just so relaxing. Bearing in mind, we'd already had a massage earlier, and to have the bubbles massage in my back as well felt fantastic. Time was ticking on, and we did have the evening meal booked for that night in their restaurant. It was a bit earlier than we probably would have normally have ate, but I wanted to see Tottenham play in the Europa League on my tablet back in our room. So I'd booked the meal intentionally a bit earlier. So before we went to that, we did have time to have a very brief sit down in the steam room, which meant we got quite a bit done on our first day. Now, I was a little bit concerned about what sort of food might be on offer. It is, of course, a spa, so you think it would just be very healthy, very simple, possibly slightly bland food. Not at all. The menu was quite good. It had a few items that I could choose from for every course, being a celiac and gluten-free. Did limit my options slightly, but I had the soup of the day, night one, which was gluten-free, and the main and dessert were perfectly good as well. So that was a success. They have only recently started serving alcohol at the place, so we did have a glass of wine each with dinner, which was all very civilized, and I'm happy to say the service in there was quite quick and quite slick, so we did make it back to the room in time for kickoff and in time to see Tottenham win 1-0. So that was a successful first night. As part of the deal, we also had breakfast, lunch and evening meal the second day planned as well, and you have to book a time slot for each of those meals. So we had our time slot booked for breakfast. That was a buffet style, but again, plenty of options for me as a gluten-free celiac, so that was great. I got a nice, healthy and substantial breakfast, and then we had the whole day to ourselves. We hadn't booked any more treatments, so it was just a case of doing whatever we wanted to do. I am a massive fan of saunas and steam rooms. I do not like the cold. I love being hot, and I just find them such relaxing places, so I was desperate to go into them. However, we did ease ourselves in a bit more gently. They've got a massive hydro pool there with different sections of it having slightly different water flows and things that either massage your body or are just relaxing or do different things. So we made our way round that for a bit, just staying in the pool and moving to the various areas and sections. And then eventually we started a stint in the steam room, then the sauna, which again, I do like. I have a lot of time for sitting in saunas. Thing I find that's quite weird about saunas and steam rooms is people are way more likely to talk to you in a steam room or a sauna when you're all there in the swimming costumes than they would be likely to if you were fully dressed on a train. Now, I like it because I like a good chat in the sauna. You have all sorts of interested conversations and you overhear quite a few different conversations as well. I was involved in one that started when a group of friends come in and they were talking about one of their birthdays, and apparently one of them had bought some perfume which she thought the other would like as a birthday present. Unfortunately, the other one didn't like it on her at all, but fair play, she had a owned up and said it. So they were having a conversation about finding the right perfume or scent. Somehow I got involved with that as well. My initial point was, I think if you've been wearing a perfume or aftershave for a long time, eventually you stop smelling it yourself. Therefore, you kind of stop liking it because it doesn't feel like you're wearing anything or you smell of anything. Then I've had an additional problem recently in that at the moment, every time I find an aftershave I really like and start wearing it, by the time I need to replace it, it's discontinued. That's happened 3 times in a row. So obviously, as soon as I start wearing an aftershave, the people who make it kind of think it's lost all street cred and instantly remove it from sale. That's what I imagine happens anyway. Much like breakfast, lunch there was a buffet, but it was all well labelled and kept separately enough that I could safely eat there from the buffet. So that was perfectly fine as well. Then for our second afternoon, it was just a case still of dipping in and out of the various pools and jacuzzis, in and out of the sauna and steam room, just trying to relax and chill out as much as possible, which was a lovely way of spending a Thursday and a Friday. We were booked in once again for the evening meal and we let our hair down a little bit. We had 2 glasses of wine each with dinner on the Friday. The staff are so lovely and friendly. They have a cafe there on site as well where you can get various drinks and snacks throughout the day. On day 1, the woman serving me, I thought I recognised her from somewhere. I couldn't place where. She just looked a bit familiar. The second day I was there, she came up to me and goes, "Don't I know you from somewhere? I'm sure I recognise your face." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I know you as well." We worked it out. She used to work in a farm shop that I used to go to get some items of a weekend. She must have a very good memory because I reckon it would have been at least 5 or 6 years since I've been there. But we had a nice chat. It was good to see her. She was very friendly and very nice, as was everyone there. It did seem to go quite quickly because we only had the afternoon, the full day, 2 nights there, and then we had to be out by 11 a.m. on the Saturday. Although Linda suggested this to me on the Friday night, and I'm not sure how I hadn't thought of it before. Because I do love the sauna and the steam rooms so much, she said, "Well, why don't you get up a bit earlier on the Saturday and go and have a steam and sauna before we have to go?" I was like, brilliant, that's great. So I did just that. I got there soon after it opened and had the sauna and steam room pretty much to myself for an hour. So I'm so glad I did that. They fed us with breakfast on our last day and then it was time to depart. I know it's not that conventional for a man to like spa days as much as I do, but I do. I just find them really relaxing places. Always get a massage whenever I go. And we're already trying to see if we can plan another trip to maybe a different spa this time just to see what they have on offer and any excuse to sit in a steam room or a sauna and have another massage. I am a big Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band fan. Now seen them live 3 times and already have a ticket to go and see them in Manchester next spring, which I'm very much looking forward to. Therefore, I had to watch their documentary as soon as it came out and I was not disappointed. I thought it was really good. It was a nice insight into how they put their 2023 tour together, from how Bruce himself put the set list together, which was a bit more structured than is normally the case with the E Street Band when they're out on tour. Normally they change up what they play quite a bit, as they did more on this year's tour. But for that 2023 kind of comeback tour, because it was 6 years, thanks to COVID, since they'd been out on the road together. So when they got back together for rehearsals, they almost had to relearn all the songs. In fact, Stevie Van Sant took it on himself to become the musical director, and even after Bruce was happy with the rehearsals and the sound, the band themselves did extra rehearsals because Stevie felt they might be a little bit under rehearsed. Bruce was fine with that. He gave a speech that's on the documentary which basically said, "I think we're as good as we need to be, we're where we want to be, the rest of it we'll just go with on the night because we will make mistakes," and basically that's what the audience are coming to see, a live performance. It might go wrong, it might be a bit different, we're there for that. That said, I have seen that band 3 times now, and I don't believe I've seen any mistake. They're so slick and so good. The playlist he put together was kind of a storyboard, really, as well. I think it was his reflections on COVID. He'd also lost a couple of people very close to him, which made him reflect on both life and death at that point. But most importantly, it included so many of their great songs, and it really built as well. It started with a lot of energy. There was a bit of a quieter patch in the middle, and then they really ramped it up for the end of those concerts. I had a fantastic time seeing that show at Hyde Park. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the documentary too. It was great to hear from lots of the band. What I didn't realise was, I know Jake Clemens is the nephew of Clarence Clemens, one of the original members of the E Street Band. What I did not know is that the instrument that Clarence played, actual instrument, was passed down to Jake, and he plays that same musical instrument on stage with the band still, which I think is an excellent touch. They're so good. Max Weinberg on drums has to be, for me, one of the best drummers in the world. He works so hard during an E Street Band concert. He must have so much energy. He could give the Duracell Bunny a good run for his money. We're also watching another music documentary at the moment, and Linda got me onto this one. She is a big fan of Bon Jovi, and John Bon Jovi in particular. Maybe I should be slightly concerned there. I don't know. But there's a documentary that they've made which is really interesting. It's following the band on their last big world tour, but also it's telling the story of the band right from the beginning in the 80s, how John got them together, how he kind of got things going, how he wrote the songs, even down to how last minute they had to change the artwork for the album Slippery When Wet because the original idea was suddenly refused by the record company at the last minute. And to get around this, John managed to do the picture himself using a bin liner and some water. And that is the cover of their album. There's loads of great little quirky stories like that. Unfortunately, he is having some vocal issues at the moment. He doesn't feel his voice is quite where it used to be and where he'd like it to be, which is why Bon Jovi are not touring at the moment and haven't done so for a while. Hopefully he can either get that voice right or find some sort of compromise, because they are some act. I've only seen them very briefly perform live. I saw them do a few songs at one of Capital FM's Party in the Parks, which was great, but I would love to see them do a full concert. That would be amazing. The past couple of weekends, Linda and I have managed to find ourselves doing a bit of babysitting for her brother. Always get sucked in to kind of playing. I can't help it. I really enjoy it. Like the most recent time, there was a Lego box that appeared. Now, as a kid, because I was not really interested in building or anything practical at all, which is still the case now, I never had any Lego of my own. So having this massive Lego set, I decided to help the kids do some building, although they were much better than me. I was just trying to find the various size bits of Lego for them. They were putting it all together. Also in this box, and this surprised me because I am a massive Only Fools and Horses fan. Linda, not so much. And as far as I was aware, no one in her family really particularly liked it. But in the old toy box, there was a perfect replica of Del Boy's yellow three-wheel van, which I actually took myself off to play with for a bit as well. There was one moment where the boy we were looking after, who is 3, was watching a cartoon. I sat down next to him, started watching the cartoon, and then about 5 minutes later, I looked up, realised he'd wandered off and started doing something else. I was still there, glued to the cartoon. This seems to happen to me a lot whenever I'm around children. I just get more engrossed in the programmes and cartoons than they seem to. Linda was great. Both times she took them into the kitchen and did some cooking with them, making cookies and various other things. I was a little bit jealous because she never lets me do any cooking in her kitchen, but she was quite prepared to let her niece and nephew loose in there. Mind you, under quite strict supervision. I guess if we tried that, I imagine things would maybe not go quite so smoothly or quite so quietly. It was a fun night and it was great to see them, although it's quite tiring looking after children, isn't it? Last weekend we went over to Milton Keynes to have lunch with a very good friend of mine. We've known each other for 20 years now, since we met at a radio station in Yeovil. Every time we meet up, it's like we only saw each other the other day. It's one of those friendships. We spend a lot of the time quoting song lyrics and Alan Partridge at each other, but that is pretty much the same with most of my friends from the world of radio. I obviously selected the restaurant where we had food because, again, it had to be celiac accredited for me. We went to Miller and Carter, who I do like, had a lovely 3-course meal in there. We took our time over it as well. We were in there a couple of hours chatting and catching up. Great to see them and hear they're busy and doing so well. They are trying to do a bit more in the world of writing and acting, which is something I don't know much about and something I've never really done, unless you count my cameo appearance in Ben Langley's Ha Ha Holmes at the Waterside Theatre in Aylesbury, which I thought was a triumph because I did make Joe Pasquale absolutely lose it on stage. He was laughing so much, he did inform me that he almost wet himself. So I'll take that as a win. I am already very excited for next May. Not only do I get to see Bruce Springsteen once again, but finally the Elvis Evolution experience is opening in London. Tickets were released for it the other week. I bought a ticket for my mum and I straight away as soon as they were released. We're both big fans of the King. I am hoping it's going to be absolutely brilliant. I saw the ABBA Voyage show a couple of months ago. The holograms on that are amazing. If it's anything close to that, it will be just surreal, basically, seeing Elvis Presley in that sort of proximity looking like that. Hope it is as good as I expect it to be, but you're going to have to wait till next June for me to be able to confirm or deny that. Tottenham are doing all right at the moment. Had a couple of good trips to White Hart Lane and the Tottenham Stadium recently, with us beating Manchester City in the Carabao Cup, only to go and have to play the other half of Manchester United in the next round. And we had a decent home win against Aston Villa last weekend as well, which was good fun and a great atmosphere. Looking forward to more of the same this weekend, but you never can tell with Tottenham, so fingers crossed. That's almost it for this time. Just a quick reminder, you can hear my radio show Saturday afternoons between 2 and 4 at radio9springs.com. That is all now. Thanks for listening. Take care, look after yourselves and each other, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.